Hello everyone and welcome to CPAC 2023. I'm your host Amelia Kane, and joining me today is former University of Kentucky swimmer and 12-time All-American Riley Gaines Barker. Riley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
My first question to you is this. In 2022, you competed at the NCAAs, which is the highest level you can get basically for college sports, and tied at 5th place with transgender athlete Leah Thomas. But you were told you had to place 6th. Why was this the case, and what was the reaction from people around you?
So I'll set the scene a little bit here. We swam, well, first of all, this was the second day of competition. The first day of competition was when Leah Thomas did swim to a national title, beating out 3 Olympians, American record holders, the most impressive female athletes, female swimmers in American history. And so this was the second day. We were competing against each other. We swam that morning. We both qualified top 8 for finals. And so that night we raced and we tied for 5th. And so upon tying, we go behind the awards podium where the officials hand out the trophies and you're named an All-American. And so we go back there and the official looks at both Thomas and myself and he says, "Great job. You guys tied. Leah gets the trophy. Riley, you go home empty-handed." And so I was, of course, taken aback, and so I asked him, "Okay, look, I understand we tied. I understand there's 1 trophy, but why are you adamant on giving this trophy to Leah?" And he says, "Well, Leah has to have the trophy for photo purposes, so you can pose with the 6th place, but even then you'll give it back and you go home with nothing." And so this is when I truthfully felt compelled to speak out, because of course I knew what was happening was wrong. I knew the competition was unfair. I knew the locker room aspect of it all was wrong. But when the NCAA reduced everything I had worked my whole entire life for to a photo op to validate the identity of a man, that's when I truthfully had enough, and I took it upon myself to really just stand in truth.
Absolutely. A Judicial Watch report also found DC public schools have overhauled the social studies curriculum with critical race theory, anti-Americanism, and leftist propaganda. Do you think that this will continue across the country? And did you see this while you were in college?
You know, I definitely saw the wokeness in the institutions coming from the top. It's really hard to find presidents of universities who aren't implementing these things, especially when I was in college at a time where we dealt with COVID. The amount of bullying, almost, I feel like bullying is a good word for what they tried to do to make you get the vaccine, to which I refused. But they don't make it easy to do that, especially when you're an athlete. I do feel like I saw firsthand how institutions are treating people who just want to embrace their faith, embrace being an American. It's almost like it's a crime to say you're a conservative nowadays, and these institutions, they permit that, or I guess they enable that. And so I definitely saw that, but the trajectory of this, it's really scary. My little sister, she's in 8th grade, and she'll tell me things about her school and how many of them are non-binary and things of that, and what they're teaching in schools. It blows my mind, because I was in middle school not super long ago, and I did not have that experience, and so I feel like this is on a fast track to a downward spiral. But I will say I'm hopeful, because I truthfully feel like parents are waking up. Moms, you don't want to fed up mama bear. That's the most scary thing. But moms are waking up. The public, they see what's happening. The pendulum has swung so far. I'm only praying and hoping that it can restore itself, and we can restore ourselves as a society and a culture back to sanity.
Absolutely. My last question for you is this. Judicial Watch also had a recent victory in California. A court ruled the state's racial, ethnic, and LGBTQ quota for corporate boards is unconstitutional. How do we continue this fight against woke transgender ideology on campuses and workplaces?
People have to be comfortable using their voices. Based off my experience, especially in the athletic world, talking to these girls on the pool deck, they're terrified into using their voice. They would rather just kind of go with the flow rather than stand up to it, even though they know it's wrong and they feel like they're being harmed in the process. But they don't want to be labeled transphobic. They don't want to be called a bigot. They don't want to be called hateful. Their schools, their institutions, they've told them, look, we've made your stance for you. You will never get into grad school if you speak out. You won't get a job. There's no point in using your voice. And they suppress their voices. But they feel how I do. So I'm speaking for so much more than just myself when I'm sitting in this chair talking to you guys and to you. I'm not just talking about my own personal experience. My experience is not unique. And there are so many girls who feel the way I do, who don't want to see the erasure of women that the left is aggressively trying to attempt. And so my message is to use your voice, stay informed on this topic, because to believe that it's a non-issue like the left and the media likes to push, that could not be further from the truth and the reality of what's happening in our society. Again, not just limited to sports. And so use your voice, make sure you're staying informed, contact your state and local representatives. I think that's so important. Know their stance. They like a lot of the time for this to get swept under the rug and the public not know what's actually going on. Really crucial to know what's going on locally for sure.
Thank you so much for your insight, Riley.
Of course, thank you.
Thank
yes.
you. And for more on our work, please visit judicialwatch.org. Thank you.